Hey guys, this is Valde from Moji here. Danish Counter-Strike is one hell of a drug, but so is Thorin's YouTube channel.
Right, for the final, you told some of these stories on Snake and Banter, but let's get into it. So first of all, if what you said earlier is accurate, and the only team you can't beat is Heroic, and then you beat them and crush them on the third battle, logically, you should actually think going into the final, bro, we're gonna beat Vitality in France and win the Paris Majors. It's mental. We're gonna do it, right? We're gonna win them. We're gonna win the final. Did you think that?
Yeah, I think we had probably more belief against Vitality than we did against Heroic going into the game. It was just maybe we were too high from the win against Heroic as well, and this is probably was something that we maybe didn't deal with as well, because we had so much, obviously, social media following everything, right, from winning this, and there's so much euphoria that you've just taken down the best team in the entire thing, and you're going to play a major final the next day, or you're back practicing for everything, and you just straight back on it. Like, we have like blast cameras in there recording us as we're like going over prep, like what the hell's going on here? We've never had anything like this, right? Going to this one, we felt confident. Maybe we weren't as prepared as we could be, but again, we had the same sort of thought process that Vitality are going to play different almost every game. It doesn't really matter. And the only thing that we were kind of worried about was the veto, because we just didn't know what they were going to pick. And this for us was a big weakness, because we knew that if it was Vertigo or Nuke, we weren't super confident.
They basically punish picked with their pick, right, most of the time at this point in time.
Yeah, they did, and we just couldn't tell what they were going to punish pick, because I think at the time, like, our win rates were really good on all the maps.
Right.
It's just that we knew we had weak maps. Like,
right.
No matter if you're amazing at 7 maps, you're always on map you're not as comfortable on, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And they just went for Nuke, and this is like the worst matchup for us, because we knew we weren't good on Nuke. We just knew we weren't good on Nuke at all. And if they picked it, we were in trouble, and that's exactly what they did. And I think it probably put more pressure on us to win Overpass, when I genuinely felt like we were the best Overpass team, even though they were probably the second or third best map. I remember saying to Suihy, I would have so many regrets if we played this tournament, we didn't pick Overpass and we lost.
Yes. Rather
than we played Overpass and lost because we're not better than them. I wouldn't be able to live with myself with that, playing a major final, because we were really, really good in Overpass. We had all the protocols, we had all the reads, we were super confident in all positions, and we knew we could beat them. But then when we went into it, it was the flip side of what we dealt with the day before, right? We'd dealt with the day before. We had everyone chanting Kios. Every time we win, the crowd's going after us. And then we're on the stage and everyone's booing, screaming, and shouting at us. Like, it wasn't anything like the Brazil stage, by the way, at all. Not even close. And this crowd was amazing. Even when they weren't on our side, this crowd was amazing. They got it. There weren't no death threats. There was nothing. It was just good. They just wanted us to lose. That's all they did. They wanted Vitality to win, and they wanted us to lose. They weren't going to threaten our safety or anything like this, or champ are going to die or cheat or anything like this. They were well behaved, and I can't say at any point that they lost us any rounds, the crowd, either. But this game, it's like I said on Snake and Banter, if the maps were the other way around, we would have got crushed on Nuke, because we were crap at Nuke, and they were really good at Nuke. But Nuke was close because we were good, and the Overpass was not close because we were rattled, I think, by the whole crowd situation, and we just had a terrible start. You just couldn't.
Let me get in there, because here's the thing: when you say that, I have a really good memory for games that I've watched. Obviously, if it's a major final, like, I remember pretty much all the rounds. Right? If people don't know, they're going to go and look this up now and go, "It was fucking 16-6, you idiot! They won 11-4 and CT." No, if you watch like the first, I'm going to say like 8 rounds of that game, like, bro, you guys could have been the one with the big lead at the beginning. Like, obviously you complained about it, but it's true. There's that inexplicable 1v2 that like fucking Apex wins, where like he hasn't even got bullets, and he's got like, the joke is, I bet he was like, how the fuck did I win that? Like, it's like, it's like in Acor gets caught off in the wildest angle ever. Like, some of the round, like, what was happening is it was on those rounds where they're winning all the rounds, but bloody hell, it's like getting down to the last kill every time, or last 2 kills, or like you say, a timing catches someone. Like, it really was no joke. I know if people don't want to hear that, I'm unlucky I lost 16-6. Like, that sounds shit, doesn't it? But if you think about the first part of the game, it really was like one where you guys could have been the one winning the first half. It was true.
Yeah, we started like I think a lot of coaches agree. We had the nightmare start, which is you win pistol, and you lose it. You don't just lose the second round, but you lose it with 5 alive. And Vitality had 5 alive. I think Spinks hit a few deagle shots. Zyro hit a couple of shots. They took all of our guns. They had like way more money than they should do, and we had the least amount of money. And then we played the next round. I don't think we got a kill. And this is like the worst possible start you can have, because they straight away have like 6k. They're playing against Glocks. We have nothing, and we're 3-1 down. And our money is we're just not going to have an AWP for the rest of the game nearly now, for the next like 5 rounds, something stupid. And then we've just given like Spinks the best start ever. And Spinks this whole half, it just felt like he was in our spawn. And we take him down, but you take 2.5 of us down every time. And then we just lose the closest round ever. And as soon as we had them like on the verge of breaking the money after winning a round or 2, they'd win with 5 alive again. just like that. And it'd be like it's like going up a mountain backwards the whole half. Whenever we had a chance to break the money, we didn't win it to a super close round, and then they instantly won the next one super clean, and we had to do it all over again. And things were happening in that game that never happened to us. Like I remember we were going out monster on T side, and we were just dying to someone flash peeking monster. And for me, this is like it's like criminal. It's like beginner overpass stuff. Like this should never happen because they should never been positioned to do this. Monsters should be smoked all the time. We should be putting pressure on them so they can't feel like they can just flash check it. We should be punishing them when they peek it, at least trading them. And they were just like Dupree and Magist were just like swinging, getting 3Ks and killing us over and over. And it was just all going wrong. And I think that the close rounds rattled us, the terrible rounds rattled us, Spinks being in our spawn all the time rattled us, and the crowd just loving it because we were getting smashed and they were going to finally win on the home ground. This was like the ultimate Cinderella story, right? We lost the final and nobody interviewed us. No one gave a fuck at all because it was all about brutality.
Okay.
And I was just stood there waiting like, is someone going to...
It's like that meme of, the two like a conference, that famous cartoon meme where it's like, it's always all like uncomfortable truths and lies or whatever. And there's like a whole crowd going to the lies one and no one's going to the... That was what it was like when you second at the bloody major. No one even wanted to interview you. What the fuck?
Yeah, nobody spoke to us at all. They just did the trophy ceremony and that was it. We're like, off the stage then. I guess we're doing the backstage media and stuff, and that was kind of it. But yeah, I just have the biggest what ifs. Like we should never lose overpass like this ever because we were so good at it and we played so poor. But we should never win nuke because we were terrible at it, and we should have won nuke. We were like 11-4 up or something on nuke, and we like even on CT side we were terrible at it. We were so bad at it, and we nearly won. And I just genuinely think swap it round. Nuke, we get absolutely blown out of the water. Everyone's rattled. We go backstage. We regather our thoughts. We talk about being the team that beat heroic. We come back on overpass and we restart and we win these close rounds and we give them a game. I'm not saying we win because overpass was great for them, but if we do win, we're going to the third map on the back of a win, and we are really up for it at this point. And we really know we can beat them, and anything can happen. I'm not necessarily saying we can win, but we have so much momentum. We have so much momentum at this point, and I know that they are thinking that they are going to lose. They are going to lose to GamerLegion, a team like 30th in the world at their home major, and this is going to kick in at some point at the close round.
No, the sad thing about that game, mate, is that, as you say, because especially you guys had the big lead, like you guys won 10 CT rounds. By the way, Zero was just a normal player on that map. Look, I can't lie. It's like the simple fan. I was sort of like, yes, lose on stage. This is it. And at the time, Emma was fucking popping, so I was even like, let's let this Romanian guy's outplaying you. Like, it was true, he was. Emma was actually a fucking god on CT side. He was everywhere. He was killing everyone. No one could stop him. Like, if you look at the way this game goes, the real problem is this, as you're saying there, if you'd actually got to the third map, that's where what would have actually given you a chance is the 20 minutes when they have to go outside and have that talk and go, shit, wait a minute, it's actually a BO1 now, and if this team beats us, we just fucking blew the whole major at the end of CS2, and we fucked it, didn't we? But the problem is, it's like for real, in this map, you're like one round from them actually having to start thinking that, but they're still in the position where it's like, as long as we come back and win, it's okay. And they just did like that comeback themselves where they got on CT side. Like, the problem is, that must be the one thing you have regrets about, right? Which is like the way people played on T side towards the end. Like, those are the rounds you think about, or what could we have done differently, or what call could I have made or something, right?
Yeah, just everything was going wrong for us all the time. I remember I took a tac pause for the last round of the game, and I was like, guys, all this stuff we work with alerts and stuff, it's not working the tempo. Let's just do a basic wall. Let's go down secret together. Let's just try and get a situation where together we can trade each other. And this is the round that Zero starts secret, and he just kills like two of us with AWP straight away. And I'm just like, afterwards, like, why didn't I just...
He did smurf CT side, I'll give him that. He was fucking sick.
He did. I just remember afterwards, being like, in prep, we like, Zoe he hasn't started lower like a single time, like 6 games or something. And I was like, okay, this is the go-to call, let's do it. And it didn't work. And afterwards, I've just been like, why didn't I just take a tac pause, say, Suihy, what do you want to do? Give him 30 seconds to think and shut up because I'm not in the game and I can't see everything. I just let him think. Instead, I made a call because I felt we were rattled and I felt we were out of ideas. And this is because Nuke in practice was going like this for us, right? We were just getting shut out, getting 3-4 rounds and struggling really hard. And I felt like at this point, if I don't say something, I'm going to regret it super hard.
Sure.
It didn't work. And I felt like at least we can go with prep. At least I can say I had a reason to do it. And the reason was Zio never goes there and Zio is smacking us by himself. Let's at least go away from him and give ourselves a chance to win a couple of rounds. And it didn't work. So, I mean, I have regrets about that, but at least I didn't just pussy out and say nothing and just say to not take the tac pause, right?
Yes.
Give it a go. So, yeah, my own regrets. If we got to that third map, it would have been amazing. It's like, if I think about it, like I randomly watched, like I'm a big Liverpool fan, I randomly watched Liverpool play against Salzburg highlights yesterday.
Okay.
After maybe even this morning, and Liverpool were 3-0 up, and it's Haaland's playing for them, like start of his career, and they bring it back to 3-3. And I just remember, like, oh Christ, I was watching that game thinking, no matter what happens now, we are not going to score. The crowd is just, every time it's like a pass, they're like, oh no, what's going on, blah, blah. And this would have happened to them. Everyone would have been on their backs. And it's like, now you have to be really special because the crowd is doubting you and this is making everything worse. And we get something out of their doubts, right? We're loving it when they're oohing and ahhing and everything. For them, it's like, oh my God, we're going to lose to fucking GamerLegion. Like, who the fuck are GamerLegion? They should have gone 0-3 in the first stage and they're on the final. We should win at home. And I don't even remember what the last map was. It's just full blur. I mean, we've just beaten Heroic on it, right? So we're going to feel pretty good. But if it wasn't Nuke, like even for Immer, this was his worst map by a long way.
It still is now. He's still not that good on CS2. It's one of the few ones that he's not that good, yeah.
He's always hated
Even though he smurfed on this one, he had a great game, actually.
Yeah, and I'm really glad that he showed up there as well for him. Like, I think it would have been really shit for him to go into the final being like Zywoo versus Immer, who's the MVP, and then just do nothing. So, yeah, at least that happened, right?
By the way, also the other thing I was going to ask you was this, right? When you say it there, people think that's like a meme, that it's like Reddit trying to coach, like, oh, fuck, Simple's there, just go to the other side. That's a real thing that you do in games, by the way, sometimes if these guys are going off. Like, I know people don't want to hear it, but actually I'll draw a parallel if people know in basketball. I think it's the same concept, right? The concept goes in basketball, right? You can't stop the best offensive players because they're just so much better than everyone. Like, they can essentially just win even if you do like the perfect defense against it, right? So what you tend to do actually in team sports where someone's doing that, because look, it's not a 1v1 sport, is what your logic is like, right, just basically limit a bit of what they're doing. That's in, don't give them easy kills, and then just shut everyone else down. Just fuck the others up, and then what you want, the dream is that Simple Aussie who does have the 30 bomb, but then you win 16-13. Who gives a shit? We win anyway. You know, congrats on the 30 bomb. You can have the MVP, but we win the map, right? When you play against Nico or you play against Siwoo and they're actually like really fucking good, is there sort of like a mentality of what you have to do against them? Do you try to just delude yourself that they're just a normal player and you can still shoot them in the head? What's your mentality when you play against like superstar players?
I mean, one of the things I always say is that even if they are superstars, they still die. Like, they don't have extra armor or anything like HP, right? They still die. So if we at the very least, what we can do is we can trade him.
Yes,
like on T side.
Yes.
Yeah, and on CT side, yeah, we can make them uncomfortable, right? The worst thing we can do is just sit back, let Nico clear all his angles. He's going to kill us.
Yes.
At least we can like get in the face of like, this is what we did really well with this team, is we understood our limits as a team, and that was individually we weren't as good as the other team. So CT playstyle wise, we did this way in advance that we would play lots of set rounds, lots of little gimmicks, ways to get entry kills, and we would make the other team as uncomfortable as possible, and then we would play default afterwards. We'd make them paranoid of like their own fucking shadows, and afterwards then we'd be playing back and playing normal, and then we just kind of these players at this point, they're not the same anymore because you have shut them down, but you've made them doubt themselves, and now you can beat them normally. So instead of like other teams, like nowadays teams you play more default, and then you'll throw aggression in there, and now you'll ram it down the throats and win the game. We kind of did the flip side because we knew we had to, because we're not going to beat the Na'Vi, we're not going to beat Vitality if we just lose the first buy round, just play normal and let them do whatever they want, and then we have to adapt to them when they're on fire, right? But I do remember like this thing you just said with avoiding the star players. We thought we were going to play against Na'Vi on Ancient, and we knew we'd start T side. And I know I found a random tell that Simple, every round he would smoke like elbow in middle, like the deep smoke. And if he smoked it from B, I could tell where the smoke landed. If he smoked it from A, I could see where the smoke landed. And this is just because of the angles where he's throwing it from. And our game plan on Ancient was going to be, whatever happens this game, Simple is going to end on 3 or 4 kills on CT side because we're not going to give him a chance. If he smokes from B side, we're just going to go A and split A. If he smokes from A side, we're just going to split B. It doesn't matter if there's 3 there. We're going to go out, we're going to trade because he's the best player in the world and he's going to do something special and win stupid rounds. And we're not going to give him eco frags. We're just going to stay away from him as much as possible. And we're going to make sure that he just has the minimum amount of impact and we'll try and beat them elsewhere. And this was the game plan we had, but we ended up not playing Ancient. So this sort of thing, like, I'm not saying you can't just be like, oh, Zywoo plays outside and let's not go outside, right? This thing you can't get around. But there are ways you can limit it, and sometimes you look and go, maybe we need to limit it, and we have to do something about it, or we have to play against these guys' tendency. If this guy's an eco frag or something, we're going to go towards him. We're going to wait. We're going to try and make sure he doesn't get his eco frags. We're going to kill him. We're not going to make sure he gets 1 and survives. We're going to try and kill him and make him just not have this 3-0 start no matter what happens, right? So it can happen. It's not really optimal, but sometimes you look at it and go, the rest of the team isn't that good, but this guy is really good, and we can't let him have a good game. We've played against Zywoo since then. They beat us 16-1 on Nuke, and the pistol round he got an ace, and I just thought, fucking hell, we're in trouble here. And they ended the game with like 25 kills. And like GamerLegion do like media and stuff, and like, who's the best player in the world? Ziyu or Dong? Ziyu or Simple? And I always like, I have to say Ziyu, because every time he plays him, he has like the most ridiculous game. I played him on Dust 2 when he went like 25-3 or something in the third map at a Blast recently. And we couldn't do anything because Ziyu, when he just keeps smacking us. So I can't really say anyone else because Ziyu was the guy who just has our number in that sense. So yeah, I mean, we try to plan against it. Sometimes you just can't stop it. So they know it as well. They know we're trying to do it. Simple as well. He's always said that he looks at his own demos and does things that he hasn't done before because he knows teams look into it, right? So they know this as well. So that's why they're another level of why they're so good.
As you referenced, the craziest thing of all isn't even just like, well, who the fuck's GamerLegion at this major? It's the fact that like you guys weren't that far from actually winning the major. Yet you started 0-2. Like, essentially, it's like the most ridiculous. I always say when it's a story like this, no one would believe it if it was a movie. You'd go, oh, what fucking hacky writing. Yeah, right. Like, that'd happen. Like, what was how would you summarize the experience of this major?
It started so bad. It started so bad. I remember we were 0-2 down, be like, oh my God, we've just lost to the two worst. Everyone thinks he's the two worst team. Yeah. We've just lost to both of them. We are not getting through. And we felt so good going into it. And it's like, now you're at the lowest point. And the only thing we could take out of it was that we are playing another team that is 0-2. And it doesn't matter that they're playing against us. They feel shit. They're not going, at least we didn't lose to Mongols and Complexity. They still feel shit as well. So at least in that sense, we were like, we're not out yet. We're playing best of threes now, the proper Counter-Strike. We actually don't have to just play both teams' third best map or something, and be like, oh, you're better than us because it's your second to worst map and our second to worst map. Like, it makes no sense, right? It's not even proper Counter-Strike at this point. So this whole experience for us, it was like redemption because we came into Tomlin, everyone was writing us off, and every single desk, GamerLegion 2-0'd, getting 2-0'd. And if you look back at the tournament, I don't remember off by heart, but we were winning every series 2-0 or 2-1, and if we were winning 2-1, we were smashing them, like just fully out smashing them. Like even like OG in this, they were really good. I think we beat them like 16-3 on the third map or something. We played Heroic, we beat them 16-5 on the last map when we went 2-1. Apex, we absolutely destroyed. Everyone was saying how good Apex were. Everyone was saying how good Monty were. Even against Navi, we should have won the game best of one against them, but Simple and Bit won some stupid like 2-on-4s, like a few of them and just outskilled us. We beat Nine, who everyone was saying was the best tier 2 team. We beat them pretty comfortably. We beat Fnatic, who everyone was saying, oh, they're so good at the last major, everything. We crushed them. Every team we played against, everyone was saying into the tournament, we're going to be really, really good. And then because we beat them, they were saying this game was shit and we had a shit run. So if it wasn't for Heroic, this would have felt so bitter. I would have been so bitter from the tournament.
Oh, narratively,
Yeah, everyone would have said this was full fluke. Yes. We just beat teams around our level. It didn't really count, but at least Heroic legitimized it. But it was like an unbelievable experience. We just, as soon as the best of threes came out, we were the best team in every series except for Vitality. Every series we were better than the other team. I don't think any other team out there was thinking, oh, we nearly had the chance to beat GamerLegion, except for Heroic, the 1v2, when 1v2 Isaac wins at 15-14, right, when Cajun throws it away. So
this
felt like the build-up of everything. 12 months of fully practicing, grinding the tournaments, having so many talks, all this analysis, all this emotional side of things, everything paying off at last. And it's such an unbelievable experience still for me to look back on now.
Because the biggest problem is, right, if this was a movie, well, then you'd build on that and it's like, we'll get the next major. But obviously, in real life, sadly, people are ruthless. Like, immediately, Emma and Suihy, like, well, we'll just take them. Like, the two players everyone's decided are good in the team. You know what, we'll just take them out the squad. So Suihy's back to Mouse and Emma's on fucking Na'Vi. For God, like, again, you can't say no to Na'Vi if they come and ask you to play with Simple, for fuck's sake. Like, when that move out, listen, as the person who's staying back in GamerLegion, even if you're happy for them, that's a bummer. That's got to be the worst day ever when you get that news, right?
Yeah, it was kind of a bit of both to me. And this comes back from my. I used to play with a guy called Quiver who was back in when we had Mezzy, and he was just saying all the time, like, Mezzy, if you want to go join the team, like, I'm happy for you, go do it. Like, you've been great and everything. And this kind of stuck with me the whole time. And whenever like Mezzy went to Cloud9 and stuff, I was like, it was obviously my career was literally on the like hanging by a thread at this point because he goes and he's the best player, and we've just got to hang on. This was the same kind of thought process I've had since then. Like, yeah, Snax to G2, yeah, Suihy to Mouse, yeah, Imma to Navi, Mezzy to whatever. It's like I feel like I'm so close with these guys, and we've gone through so much that I'm happy for them. But at the same time, it's like go, whatever. Yeah, please go, do well, everything. And then I just like sit back, slump in my chair, and be like, fucking hell, this is another 6 months, 7 months of my career where I have to find someone, pull a wizard out of a hat, and then a rabbit out of a hat, and a wizard out of a hat, and then do it all again and try and prove myself, because it feels like I'm just kind of being left behind over and over and over. But it's like it's good and bad, right? Obviously, I'm happy Suihy goes to Mouse Sports. Obviously, I'm happy that Imma goes to Navi. But for us, it's like, well, GamerLegion back to obscurity. Everyone says now that they were the only reason we were good at any point. They carried us through. They were saying the same shit all the time. They were saying Acor carried us all the way through at Malta when we caught out at the first event. When we had Neelan, he was the reason we were doing well when we nearly got through to Cologne playoffs. Then it was whoever has the biggest media presence for us is always the biggest reason. And I'm sure now that nobody has any media presence, it'll be my turn. That I take all the credit for everything now and everything.
Okay.
And this is just the stupid narrative of looking into things, and you have to be happy with people, but you just take a massive backward step. And it's not just the fact you've lost a good player, it's the whole system. Everyone's used to how he plays and how he calls and how he reacts, and we all know what to do off him, what to expect. And whoever you bring in, you could profile the best guy ever, and he will not fit in 1-to-1 ever. And it's going to take you 3, 4, 5 months to get back to that level again, if you're lucky. If this guy is super talented, if we scouted the right guy, even then it's probably not going to be good enough, right? So it was I think for other people it was more demotivating. For me, I'm kind of just used to this at my point. We're back with Vex when people fucked off to Valorant and I was just left alone. This is like what I'm used to at this point, right? This is my whole career. For people like Acor, I think he was super down about this. He felt like nobody came in for him and he played so well for so long. I think he was really demotivated. I think the same for Isaac. No one came in for these guys, and even Kios. And then we ended up with a team that I was still motivated to go, but these guys were really down. And for the next 4 or 5 months, everything was just shit for us. I could tell people didn't want to be here anymore. And that's just the way it was. We lost Suihy, the super guy, and it didn't really matter who we brought in. They didn't want to go through it all again, right? They got no credit, basically. They were told that they were barely even a part of this team.
Yes.
And they were a massive part. All of them were massive in it. Even Kios just standing up and screaming. Like, this was getting us over the lines in these games, and nobody else would do this. Going out and sacrificing himself, all this other stuff. So, yeah, good and bad for sure, but it's just like, it just gives you the whole what ifs. Why didn't we get a chance to ever prove ourselves again? If we could have kept Suihy, could we have just gone out and shown everyone this wasn't a fluke and being a top 5 team? Will we have roster change away from being like a superstar team? Well, we never know. We never had a chance. And that's just the only shit part of this, is that we did so well, and it felt like personally for my career, I just took a massive 2-3 steps backwards. Like, all this work had paid off. Well, now we've got to do it all again. Goodbye. See you in 2 years when we get there again,
When you had to do the pivot, and obviously GamerLegion, even though they have the stick up, they're not like millionaires, obviously. Like, this is an org that has to still manage the budget. I actually thought one of the moves that you made at the time was fairly shrewd. Was Imma went out, but you got in the other room in. You got in Vault from Into the Breach. And even though if people go again, he's not someone who has crazy stats. But if you ever actually watched the Into the Breach games, after Cypher, he was the other person I've noticed. I was like, actually, you know what? There's some rounds here where there's something here. There's some eye tests sometimes for this guy. He's getting some good kills, so he's in good positioning. Wait, obviously, you still work with him now. Give me some thoughts on Vault.
I love Vault. Vault again is in the full Mezzy mold of everything. He's learning, he's absorbing things, but he's got extra things. Like, if you're talking about prep or something, you're like, oh, this guy's B player, let's do this, let's do this. He's the guy going, oh, guys, we added this strike, you should be doing this smoke, you should be doing this flash. He's like the general, when you're playing. Like, he's keeping the standards up all the time, and he's saying that this should happen. But individually, he's really good. And I've said this before, and it's not a dig at him. Like, I had a short list of 20 people to replace Imma with, who I felt would fit the team and fit the play style. Vault was not on this shortlist because everybody said no. Literally, everybody took the narrative that we were a fluke team. Nobody wanted to be part of it. Everybody said no, and I went, okay, fuck it, I'm going for the best player.
Without being too BM, can you give me a name from the list, like an example? What would have been someone that would have been plausible they could have joined if they'd have understood it?
Okay, I'll say Kakanito. He was one of them. Okay. I felt at least fit the roles.
I've actually heard he was fairly well scouted by a bunch of teams. Actually, a bunch of people wanted him.
Yeah,
right?
I'm kind of surprised he failed the episode, not as much because Jacob plays all his roles, right? And I don't think he's the guy who's ever played anything else. But at least he went there because Kicksam was there and he played with him his last team, right? But this is we're talking the 7th, 8th person here, and even people like Fasher, for example, they went to OG overs and didn't look back and didn't even think about it twice. These are the sort of people who I felt at least they would fit the roles. At least they would come in, and I felt like I could see talent, and this is the same as Imma. We could get a lot more out of this guy than maybe what he's shown, what people think. At least we're going to fit someone in the team that keeps the team as it is, and we're going to be able to move forward, right? And instead, we took Vault, who was this super supportive element, fitting in, doing all the dirty work, and we're going I'm naively thinking, I'll just change his mindset. the way he's played his whole life, I'll just change it. It's fine. He'll just become aggressive. He'll do this and that and whatever. And he came in. It's just not natural. Like I find it so much easier to make an aggressive player defensive than a defensive player aggressive. Right. And that's just the whole way of my career now. I've kind of seen it. And for Volt, he came in because he was the best player, and I saw his long-term future as being like maybe like the guy that plays like Kiyo's positions in the future, and he would be like a super massive upgrade for us, and potentially, even though Kiyo's was like hugely important in our team, the way the Volt plays for me is really, really, really insanely good. And now he's kind of fully transitioned into the guy I sort of thought he would, and now he needs to kind of find himself, and he's kind of suffered a little bit because of the roster changes. He needs stability, he needs to know his role, he needs to know the trust and everything, and we just haven't found it, for obvious reasons. We keep trying to change roster, and it's been out of our hands a lot of the time with people leaving, people being lured away from us, and people being bought. So, yeah, for Volt, I can't say enough praise about him, to be honest. I think he's super, super underrated. And when we get everything together, and I keep begging him, like, please, Volt, just stay with me. I will get it right. We'll get the right players in. It'll stick. We'll make something worth. Just stick by it. I know it's been terrible for you and unstable, but we're going to make this now a good team. And you're going to be a really, really important part of this. And you are the potential, like, next Magix, the next, like, Zontic sort of guy. The guy who's just, like, doing the bad roles but doing a really good job at it. He's that guy who will do it for us. He just needs time to shine with us, and this is the fault of GamerLegion's fault of myself of not giving him that platform yet.
When you got Snax in, if people don't know, it's not that Snax was just completely like, he's a wash player, no one wants him. Like, he told that in my interview with him, he even told a story that like maybe he could actually have been in it, like with the good before. Maybe there were real teams he'd like turned down, and then he came into GamerLegion. What was even the mentality of bringing this guy in, and then what was it actually like to work with him? I mean, people often comment, like, considering he was IGL, he didn't look like he did because he used to be a star player, obviously. He didn't look like he took the traditional thing of like, well, I'm IGL, so I'll take all the shit roles, and I know I'm not going to get any kills. Like, if people don't know, he's actually done, I have to say, a fair play to him, because it's true, he actually is a bit gangster. I don't think he really, I think he's one of the only people when they go, I don't care what people think, actually sort of means it. Like, he actually has done a good job of not trying to like bait people. Like, when people like Emma were doing shit in Navi, they couldn't stay out of those interviews saying the stupid comments that become the headline, like Zontix, and everyone loves to hate on you 10 times harder when you do that. Like, it's actually, by the way, it's even though I know you're getting off your chest and vent, it's a really bad move. Like, I think Snax done a fairly good job. So I just going like, I tell you what, I'll just bloody keep my head down a bit now and just hope we win. And it's worked. So when he was in GamerLegion though, mate, I got the feeling that team, he actually thought he was a pretty good player. Like, he was putting himself in some interesting spots. So what was it like to work with Snax?
And I'll just say as well, like the thing you just said with the interview and stuff, like even like Ultimate recently, Chiron as well, tier one's bad. Just don't say it, guys. Yes, agreed. Don't say it. Just keep proving yourself. Stay away from that question. It's a trick question. You can't win.
Yes,
you cannot win. The second you have a bad map, even, you cannot win. So Snax came from, we had a Polish assistant coach at the time who'd worked with him, and my biggest worry with Snax was I just didn't know. Again, it's like Acor on steroids, right? You're looking at a guy who's won tournaments 5 years ago or something. Is this guy even want to play? Is he just playing because he gets free paycheck or anything? And he was like, no, Snax is, if he feels like he has the right people and they're motivated, he's really good to work with. He's got, his calling style is really, really nice. He's an underrated player still. He's got a really smart. So we were like probably, because of this insight, we were probably the only team kind of willing to take this risk on him. And we kind of got him at a good time, because I think he turned down G2, he turned down Ents, he turned down other teams multiple times before in his career, because he felt like English level, like the level of the team, like the expectations, everything, it's kind of like, it's in the deep end, going straight to G2 from like Pompa, who's barely even an organization. Like, you don't want to do this because it gives you, it's too much, right? Once to take on. He could see this kind of like as a stepping stone for him in his career. It made sense of everything. And for us, we went from Nilan, who was like super rigid, and the way we just didn't have the players. Like, he wanted to play like Prime Cloud9, but with like Isaac Kios and stuff, who were just not going to win. They're not going to meticulously clear every angle, be ready for every play and win all the duels. They're just not going to do it. It's just not the way that they play.
Oh, did he overestimate their ability, you think?
I don't think he overestimated. I think that's just the way he calls.
Right.
At least with like Shuey and stuff, we had like extra dimensions that we played explosive rounds. We mixed the tempo up and stuff. But I think Neelan was kind of very much, we play super meticulous slowly, and then eventually we strangle them and we do something. But if the other team did something aggressive, like, obviously we're going to lose to Axel peeking us and stuff like this. So it's not like we were even close, right? And this has kind of been the whole way that I don't think he got that this is how we win games.
Right.
We win games by having our style that needs to be different to other teams. We can't just play.
He was just trying to play like tier 1 CS.
Yeah, he was trying to play fully tier 1 CS with us. And I think it could have worked, but just not with the players we had. And I think at the end of the day, you have to, like, the biggest thing I've learned over my career is I have to adapt to what I have. And I think that he just wasn't working with him at all. And for Snax, I was watching, I was like, okay, this is at least playing the style. When I looked at their demos, like he was playing explosive, difficult to read, different tempos, and it was very similar style to suihy. I could see the way that they were playing was similar to suihy, and I felt like we needed maybe like a bigger voice in the team, someone a bit more experienced who could take us like to the next level. Everything for that kind of made sense. So then we bring him in, and he's not like the biggest guy who's like, he's not going to go on and show you like 10 different things to do. He's going to add loads of strats or anything. He needs coach's help with the way Snax calls. He wants different things, and once you give him like, here's this default, from this you can do this, then he just sees everything, and he's just like, okay, guys, now we're going to do an extra smoke here, we're going to do an extra flash here, you're going to go here and here. Like, I remember we played against VP and Overpass, and he randomly just winged a call where Kios, our B player on T side, he said, okay, Kios, just walk up A by yourself, and as soon as they see you, we're going to run in B. And the second round of the game, they won pistol. They had 5 players on A because they saw Kios, and we ran 4 people into the bomb site. And the casters were like, what the fuck's going on? This is because they saw the B player, and they're like, well, obviously there's more people here, and we were literally nobody. And this is like Snax in a nutshell. He's going to exploit all these little things. And it means that sometimes it looks a bit silly because he's doing things like he's just basically sending your B guy to death, walking up by himself on a key buy round, right? And if he dies, it doesn't look good. Another thing is like he's gonna go through a smoke because he understands that they've thrown that smoke to block you because they're doing something else elsewhere on the map, and he's gonna go through it. And yeah, it's gonna, of course, it looks stupid if the other guy's holding the smoke. It looks fucking terrible, right? And you're gonna lose rounds like this. So I think sometimes he has a little bit of boredom because he's played the game for so long, and he likes to just try and outsmart the other team and win some silly rounds and knife people and get behind them or whatever with his lurks. But this is kind of just what we needed, and to be honest, what he needed was more experienced players who were more risk orientated, who kind of wanted to take the risks and be on the same page as him. And we kind of just didn't have that. We have like more calculated, like Isaac and Volt were very calculated players, like 100%. And Aiko's kind of the guy who needs a system to feel comfortable in, and then you can give him like pushes like, oh, Aiko, you could do this on this round, you could do this in this round. When you throw randomness in there, he kind of struggles on it as well, right? So we kind of hit weird phases where some teams we could beat, and then we just couldn't find consistency. So I understand why on G2 it's working more, because this high level of initiative, especially with the players they have, it's like perfect from like even like Monacy will just buy a rifle and run in first and try and kill people, right? Nova Op is doing this. So I'm not surprised at all, because he must be a nightmare to prepare against. He's definitely in the Apex sort of mode where it doesn't matter what you watch G2 just do. Right. They're doing something different the next game. And Snax just thinks, last game, yeah, we went B a lot. We did this smoke. He'd fake this a lot. Okay, now we're just going to do this. And he might not even watch the game, and he just knows what he's going to do straight away. So at the very least, you don't know what he's going to do, and he's going to do it with good timings and experience. And that's kind of what I said to him, is that I want him to use experience, survive more, don't die much, and be alive in the clutches, be that guy who's using experience to win the rounds rather than the entry player. I think sometimes this kind of clashed with his entire career of being the star player, being the entry guy, doing things on his terms. And he had a really hard time dealing with that, to be honest. It took a lot of convincing back and forth with him. But at least on our team, he was playing a lot of rotation key roles and things like this, right? So for him, he kind of worked individually. And yeah, he was pretty easy to work with, 100%. But he needs I think he needs a lot of help. And if you give him the right help, that's when you get the best out of him.
Because I always used to tell people during this era, when everyone already was just like, well, who gives a fuck? There's no show we use him. Then GamerLegion's no good. And I always used to tell people, you're getting fooled by looking at the fucking placing at the end of the tournament. If you ever watch this team, they're basically like the analogy is you're the team who just ruined a tournament for some other top team. Like, you would always upset some team early on, or like knock them out when they think like, oh, well, I get past this opponent, then I'll play the real team. You would just beat them there, or you'd make it 3 maps and suddenly way closer than it has any right being. Right? I mean, some of this makes sense if like there was good calls and some things were right, but maybe some things weren't as perfect. What do you think of this era? Because I feel like actually the team wasn't that far off actually doing some things which would have got people's attention.
Yeah, so one of the reasons we've kind of rebuilt things completely is because I'm just sick of being the team that makes playoffs and lose, or just just misses out on playoffs over and over and over. And I'm at this point in my career,
it's a million times, yeah.
Yeah, at this point in the career, I would rather just take a bunch of really young, motivated players who are skilled and just go all in on them and try and help them develop and try and make something that can win a tournament, rather than just being the team that never comes last. Like we're the equivalent of like, I don't know, like fucking Everton in the Premier League. You know, we're just not getting relegated, but we're just going to be there all the time. Like, we're never going to come last. And this is the thing with me and GamerLegion. We have barely ever come last at any tournament ever, except for one tournament where I was sick and I made the entire team sick. That's the only time it's ever happened. And it's in three years I've been here. And this is kind of the way we are. If you look at all our events, it's always second place in online tournaments, or go to an event and be the last game possible, like the third map of a playoff game to get to playoffs and lose it, or just squeak through and then lose in like a 16-14 double overtime 2-0 or a 2-1, right? This is just kind of the way we've been all along.
Also, by the way, I'll just put this out there. This is why if people were looking at the placings going, they suck. Right, guys, does everyone remember until the last fucking day of, I mean, it was even Chengdu afterwards, the best team far and away in early CS2 was FaZe, right? Bro, your team might have actually beaten them the most of anyone in that era when they made all the finals. Like, you've won so many fucking maps against them in CS2, it's ridiculous.
Yeah, I think we match up well against them. Snax has scored really good against FaZe as well. I think they're probably like, fucking GamerLegion, not again. Let's stop play someone else or something. I think style wise, we just kind of understand how to play against them more individually. I mean, now we're not gonna because we've got 0 players there anymore. But there's just some teams that I feel like the way we play in general, our style wise, it works well against the better teams. And this is why in general we've struggled sometimes in tier 2 when we've gone to tier 1 and we've done probably a little bit better than people would have expected us to, because we're actually playing good solid CS with a bit of initiative here and there, and like the mindset of let's not be afraid to lose rounds. And against some of these teams, it works really nicely. And some teams, it doesn't match. So, like, again, Vitality, we just have a nightmare against them. They just play in a way that we just can't get past that. We just can't do it. Doesn't seem to matter what happens. We watch a game back and, oh, he's on B one round. Okay, well, that's the round we go to B and he kills 4 of us and we just lose over and over. But some teams, against FaZe, when you have the belief you can beat them, it's like half of the battle already, right? We know we've beaten them, and now we can go in games knowing we can beat them, playing a decent style of CS. And I don't think if you asked FaZe, they would be like, we play stupid. They'd just be like, we play hard to play against. And that's kind of just what I'm going with this team, is try and be hard to play against.
By the way, that you've made this point many, many times about this era of the rosters where you had this level of player, what wasn't the young players. That is actually a really misunderstood quality, which is, I actually think, put it this way, I'll give you, since you've seen so many football references, I'll use one. I actually think if people want, and even though this is like a one that pundits do take as well, I'm not Thorin in fucking football. I'm just a guy watching it. Funnily enough, I'm actually a Liverpool fan too. One thing I always think about is, you know, this thing where Vincent Kompany was with Burnley, but now he's on fucking Bayern Munich, right? To me, that's like a Snax-esque move, because everyone's like, what the Burnley was shit, and then he's in Bayern. But I get it, because you can tell he was at Burnley trying to do some like Man City shit. You can tell he was bringing some of the things he brought when he was the top player. So I think the Snax analogy is even a good one, and he used to be on top. But it's like, bro, we don't have the players. We're Burnley. Where it's like, you know what, maybe in Bayern Munich it could work. They're fucking Bayern Munich with some of the best players in the world. So I actually think in this scenario, people also don't understand that when you don't have the players, you can't copy the top tier 1 teams, because you will just be a shitter version of them, and then they will actually, because you're sort of almost like playing the way they want you to play, you will just lose to them. Whereas, like you're saying, you have to sort of be, even though it sounds whack, because I can't use specifics here, I have to use just euphemism. You have to play scrappy, don't you? You have to do things where you say, you don't try to win by just shooting them in the head. You have like you trade. By the way, the most classic thing every coach in CS should know to say is, you don't really say, well, good luck here against Ewu. You go, if we trade him, he still dies. Like you say, that's the most perfect thing. Trading's the most basic concept that wins T-side rounds. So like this, it's really like, it sounds like actually you've got that sort of nailed. Do you think you're standing out a bit as a coach in that regard? Is this just something you've sort of figured out as your niche, as it were?
It's just all trial. Everything with coaching is trial and error, to be honest, most of the time. Like, even the way we're playing now, like I have ways I want us to play, and sometimes you try it just doesn't work. And all you can do is be like, okay, this isn't working, let's try this, do it over and over and over, and find something that fits the guys that are on the team, right? But at the end of the day, if like I've said, we've come second at a major. We've done so well for so long. I've never had a single offer from a single team in my entire career. In fact, even GamerLegion, I didn't get the offer from GamerLegion. I had to go to GamerLegion, and I sent a message saying, I will work for you for free, and if you don't want to have me, I'll have to take the experience. And after about 2 weeks, they sacked the coach and took me in instead. This is kind of just been me my entire career. And at this point, to be honest, I'm just accepting it. It's just the way it is. I don't think anyone else thinks I'm standing out. So I just take it as, I think the guys that I've worked with would probably say good things about me. And that to me is all that matters. And I just go with the next day. I'm not thinking about China next. I'm thinking next CCT. Fucking hell, we stopped coming second place. We've come 3 times in a row. We've come second place. And again, I said on Snake and Banter, all these teams, top 20, whatever, don't get past the second round. Again, this time, big play to get out first round, 0-2. And we're the team that's trying to win it over and over and over and over. And we're 3 second places in a row now. And this is the horror of tier 2 Counter-Strike, is going through this, trying to find a style, trying to find what fits your players, going into the games and knowing, this guys, I will try and coach you in a way to have win conditions in rounds, but we don't have to have a particular style. We're going to try and work around what we have. And that's all we're trying to do, is work around what we have and make so it makes sense. I don't want to play a style of CS that's just boring, predictable, and nothing. We need to have ideologies in the way we play, but I'm not going to just say it the way I want to say, and we're gonna. It has to make sense of what we have, right? If we have players that don't have initiative, I can't just be like, oh guys, if they do this, we're gonna take this space, whatever, because it's just not gonna work. They're never gonna do it when it's under pressure. So we're just finding different ways to deal with it. It's literally just trial and error, seeing what works, and this is what we get from practice. And then when we go to tournaments, we try to just take out the whole occasion as much as possible with team talks, with reminding things. And it's just like slowly climbing up a really tall staircase, one step at a time. And sometimes it works, sometimes you just don't do very well. That's just Counter-Strike at the end of the day.
If people don't know, I want to ask about some of the players in this current team, because obviously, as you say, they're not as famous, but some of them are good. Like, for example, the Russian player Flamus that you have. If people don't know, Nemiga was one of the teams, actually, that just like in Tier 2 always does well. They were always doing very well in Cops and going deep in those playoffs and those things. And he was, for me, like one of the standout players of their team. It was obvious. Like, give me some thoughts on this guy and bringing him in. Like, to me, it seems like if you can get him, it's a slam dunk sort of move for the level you're at and the kinds of players you have to look for, right?
Yeah, I think so far coming in, he's struggled a little bit with the cultural side of things, for sure. And also, I saw his skills, and I was
imagine he's spoken Russian in his past teams, right?
Yeah, he's never really spoken English before. Like, even talking with him, I was surprised he spoke English. And he was referencing like, oh yeah, I listen to music and stuff, so that's why I've learned my English.
Okay.
And like, obviously this isn't perfect, and one of the main things we're focusing on now is try to simplify his English. Like, if he's saying something like, I think they're going to come B. You're like, guys, I think they're going to come now. They did this. I think they're going to come here. And you're like, you've just taken 5 seconds to say one word.
Right.
And this is kind of something he struggled with. So I think that his bedding in period has been kind of rough. And now we're going to see the best of him. And I say this all the time. This guy will be a top tier 1 player one day. He has everything about his game. He has literally everything. And the eye test tells you he's even better than what he's doing right now. And the attitude he has is it's amazing his attitude he has. He just has to learn a little bit about them outside the game because he's very young, and he has to learn to be able to communicate a little bit cleaner, just take out a bit of the random stuff he's saying in the sentences, which just isn't coming natural to him yet. And he's going to, hopefully with a bit of guidance, he will be the guy that I can look back in a year's time and be like, yeah, this guy is the next Emma, is the next even better than this sort of thing. And this is the reason why we got to a final again. This is why we won a tournament. And I didn't waste my whole career just coming 15th to 16th and 9th to 12th and all this stuff, like back in fucking Epic Land when I was playing my Counter-Strike with 28-year-olds and stuff like this. But this kid is the real deal. He just needs everything to a little bit to click for him, the same way it kind of clicked with him at the major. And this guy is the standout player, I think, in all of Tier 2 pretty much that isn't called Donk, or there's a couple of other guys, right? He's right up there.
Right, when it comes to ZTR, every idiot's going to go, oh, I already know him, I'll show him a nip. Like, that, first of all, guys, that was like fucking, like, what, 3 years ago or something now. That was ages ago he was in NIP. And also, in NIP, the one thing you might remember, and this was actually a genesis to who he became later, is remember they actually sometimes fucked around and let him be the IGL on certain maps. And spoiler, that ended up being obviously his path. Like, he's IGL'd a bunch of those Swedish teams. This is someone where I've actually heard other players tell me, like, actually, he's got real promise, this player. Give me some thoughts on ZTR. Who was ZTR in your team?
I mean, ZTR came on my radar because I remember talking with Hampus at an event, and so Rusty's really close friends with Hampus, right? We talked about earlier, and they were saying that all the time. Like, ZTR was really struggling individually, but they really liked playing with ZTR, and they hated playing with some of the other academy players, and they were like, they wanted to play with ZTR, even though he was playing as anchor, never played anchor in his life, and he's not playing as in-game leader, and he was just filling in and doing it every so often, right? I think that he's kind of he's become a little bit immune to the hatred and stuff because of the NIP sort of anti-fan base they have, where they just kind of hate on people that are bad, right? Yep. And like even now, we joke about him all the time, and people start calling him 0T rounds instead of ZTR, and we just laugh about it all the time, because if we've ever a game where we struggle, we're calling him 0T round strikes again and stuff like this, right? And he's almost become immune for it, and we're going to see the benefits because he doesn't feel that outside pressure anymore. And this is a kid that's like 20 years old, by the way. Think about how stupid this is, that a kid's had this much shit, this many death threats, and it's normalized for him every game to just have Instagram saying, I'm going to kill you, I want to kill your whole family, I'm going to rape everyone. This is every single time he plays, pretty much, and it's become normalized for him. For a 20-year-old kid, for me, this would be I would not be able to deal with this, and he's used to this now, and this has helped strengthen a guy who already had a lot of talent, and he has a really good mind for the game. He just has to trust himself a little bit more and stop just listening to every word I say. We had a talk the other day that he needs to just stop agreeing with me sometimes. He needs to tell me that I'm wrong as well. And he has to have his own opinions a bit more, because this guy thinks about the game nonstop. He's really, really good mind for it. And he's another future tier 1 player. He's already been there. He's already won a tournament, I believe, in Dubai or Abu Dhabi or something. He won something. And I can see why. People like playing with him. He's a really good teammate. He has a lot about him. And we've had a steal picking this guy up 100%. And especially with the in-game leader market as it is, I can't really understand how we got him for as cheap as we did, and I can't understand how we really got him at all, to be honest. And I'm just happy to have him, really happy to have him. And we just need to make his job a bit easier, because we haven't been doing the best on T sides, but it hasn't been his fault. It's been the bedding in of other people, the bringing in new players, just the side effect of stuff, right? People don't really understand yet where he wants to go with stuff. They don't really understand how he wants to call and everything. And this takes time. It always takes time. It was the same when we first had Suihy. It takes time. Not everyone can just come in and do what Snax did and have amazing T sides from day one by just calling freestyle stuff. He needs time to do this, and I think he will prove himself again, assuming I'm not a complete fraud, which is debatable.
Right, the new boy Tauson, who again, like, here's what's funny: people did have some hype around Ecstatic, like obviously they made the major, etc. But if people don't remember, obviously now they have a totally different team because it all got strip mined and all that. This guy was one of the best players in that team. He was like one of the clear talents, right? And so I'm guessing this is one of the people. It's like you said. Obviously, we're going to get to the other name at the end, but this is one of the ones that you're banking on, where basically maybe people don't know his name, but the premise is if you do a good job, they're going to know his name soon, right?
Yeah, this guy, this is from pure eye test and pure recommendations, is Tauson. Like, he's doing well on Ecstatic, but then the Ecstatic. And I know that the way these Danish teams play, they just have really good, the system they play is really good. And sometimes it elevates them a little bit, but watching this guy, the eye test is really, really good. He's really sharp. He's really thorough as well. Like, he's not like the most aggressive person, and we're going to have to try and get more out of him. This is going to be a challenge for the start, get a bit more stab and mentality from him. But like, I was asking, like, Juve from Into the Breach, their coach, right? He was there when they went to Paris, the young guy, 20-year-old Portuguese guy, and he was like, "Yeah, I worked with him before. Just the most amazing teammate. He's always working really hard. Attitude's perfect." And this for me is like talent plus a good attitude. For me, is like to the moon. Like you basically cannot fail with this if you keep them motivated and give them a good environment. And I think this is my biggest strength, is making a good environment and keeping people motivated and giving a direction. And for me, this is like exciting to get people in like this. And he has the eye test. He doesn't have the experience. And again, for us, we're probably going to have a tournament that's going to be like an eye opener for us, where we get ready for it. We go there, high expectations, we bomb out because we've average age is 20 point something, right? And we don't have the experience. And that experience for the last team was like going to Brazil and losing on the stage and all being like I said, I was literally crying when we were in Brazil and we lost. And then that meant that when we went to Paris, we'd be on a stage in front of people wanting to kill us or saying they were going to kill us and stuff like this. And they didn't phase us as much. We were ready for it. We grew from that experience. Even though it was so painful, it made us so much stronger as a team. And we will have this stage at some point with this team. And this kid, again, attitude-wise, I can't find anyone that's got a higher recommendation from this guy. We went around as many people possible, ex-teammates, asking, tell me something bad about this guy. Tell me something bad about this guy. And we couldn't find it. And this is really, really hard to find. It was a similar what we had with Volt. Very, very similar. But I think this guy, he fits more kind of what we need. He's more aggressive, and I need to find a balance in the team that makes sense. Like the last team we had with Isaac, with even Snax, and with Volt, it was too passive. We couldn't get around it. It's like I said, when I had this short list of players, Volt was fitting. When he didn't fit, it just didn't fit in this team at all. But I had to get him in the team because he was the best player available. I just made the balance terrible, and it made it even harder for us to compete. But we're still able to do it a little bit, right? So this kid. You watch him you download a demo of him, and you will not say that this guy's had a bad game ever. He hits all his shots. He never misses his util with great attitude. I've got a lot of hope with this guy.
If I intentionally left Slend till the end, it's because I did save the best till last. If people don't know, this is a player where not only there was their real hype, like other coaches already told me when you guy got this guy, like this isn't going to be like a complete nobody, by the way. This will be like a top player soon. They've actually they could have been in other squads. Another one where I think where if someone watches the demo, you'll see like he obviously has fucking skills, mate. If people don't know, this guy's 30 bombed against fucking Vitality. He's fucking dominated the VP super team. Like he's already, these are land results I'm talking about too. Like he's already like a clear talent, right?
Yeah, he is for sure. He just needs a bit of direction. I think he's not like the most organized guy. Okay. He needs a poking, and I'm kind of the devil on his shoulder telling him, do this all the time. This for me is just normal because it's just an AWPer for me. At this point, all AWPers are a bit crazy in that sense, and there's just something wrong with him a little bit. But he's like the nicest guy ever, and on LAN he's just way better. It seems like you put him under more pressure, and the more pressure you put under, like suddenly he's talking more, he's doing more, he's hitting flicks, he's winning clutches. You put him in a game that doesn't matter in tier 3, and he's just going to 0.98 did bare minimum, and you win the game anyway. And you're like, oh, okay, that wasn't that great. You should be dominating that. So he has like ultimate star player mentality. This guy, when you put him online, he just so far he hasn't let us down at all. We've had big games, and he thrives in them. And this is again, we don't know this about the other guys, right? But we know we put Slend in a high, like against Ziwu, against someone else, he's not fazed by it at all. And this is really hard to find.
Yes.
By the way, really hard to find. Even with the superstar upcoming players, you've hit the jackpot when you have a guy that can do this. Because we took Slend in, and he had like 1.3 rating for 3 months, but he played like 10 maps against top 50 at this point.
Right.
And this is probably why people hadn't taken him.
Yes.
And this is like, it's a big question mark, right? Because top 50 to then playing top 5, Jesus Christ, this is you don't know if he's going to be shaking when he's playing or anything, right? And for us, it's like, well, okay, he's even better apparently when he goes to LAN. So he's just a lot of talent. I think he needs me constantly on his back, and he probably doesn't understand it. He needs me on his back. He takes it well, and that's what I really like about him. Is like, I can be super harsh and direct with him, and he'll be like, yeah, I agree with this, whatever. So as long as he just keeps listening, this guy has got a really, really bright future.
Because I would actually say for people, I'm not just saying this because you're here, people are going to think, well, GamerLegion's been and gone, hasn't it? Like, they haven't got any of them anymore. They haven't got suihy, they haven't got Imma, they haven't got A-Core, they haven't got Snax. Like, so the problem is they're going to think you don't have the names you know. But if anything, I'll go the other way, Ash. I'll say that actually you were trying to reclaim those players. Because, spoiler, how did they end up in GamerLegion? Not because their careers were going awesome. You had to sort of like pick them up and then go like, right, there's still something left here, or this guy wasn't used right. Now, I see what you mean earlier on. This looks to me like you've just wiped the deck clean. The two players you brought in for sort of like the role players in Volt, he's a guy you trusted already, you've worked with him a whole bunch. ZTR, like I say, is sort of like a sleeper in the scene. Like I told you, I heard so many things about him as an IGL, like people just like him. And then the three younger players who are like the stars of the team. Here's the thing, I don't care about the rating, because obviously the point is when the team starts winning, they get better at their roles and they get better in decision making, they'll die less, and then automatically the rating will be insanely high. It's why the rating is the stupidest fucking thing in CS. Because here's the thing about those three players can all shoot people in the motherfucking head, bro. They are all clearly like skilled, super young, inexperienced. So, I mean, as a coach, by the way, I would actually go the other way and say, even though you get a lot of credit if you reclaim or bring back an old player who was good, the problem is when they get good, they go, well, he was good. In this case, right, you've got players that are like really skilled but malleable, right? It must be actually a very exciting prospect as a coach.
Yeah, it is. I'm super motivated at the moment, even though I think I've had one break in 3 years, which was for like 2 weeks. And every other time we have a break, we've ended up selling someone, and I've had to scout the whole time. And I swear to God, every time it's a play break, I'm like, okay, I've got a holiday plan or something. Probably not going to get to go on the holiday. Probably not going to do this. Not going to have 3 days off in a row. Spend the entire time doing it. And on December last year, Christmas, I went on holiday for the first time. So now I'm feeling 10 months later, this is like burned out. But the way that we're dealing with stuff now, like I said on Snake and Banter, this is a mature team who really wants to win. And this is like football manager dream sort of thing. You know, the guys with maximum potential go and prove that it's worth it. You backed yourself, right? And I tried to back myself when I said to GamerLegion, look, let's go get a team that can try and win trophies rather than a team that's just going to hang on and cling on and just get to playoffs and then not come last over and over. I'm sick of it. I'm so sick of it, and I want to be here to build this organization up that gave me a chance to go full-time pro. Like I said, this was my dream, right? And they gave me the opportunity. I'd like to do it with these guys, and for me, that'd be a sick story. If we get to the major, we changed everyone, we came back, and then we did it all again. And I think people so far are being so unreasonable. Like we brought Tauson in the other day, and people are like, why did we do this? Oh, GamerLegion fell off already. Like we literally played a tournament with 2 days of practice, came second in CCT, and again, all these teams bottle out straight away. Like, what more do you want from us? In 2 months' time, we're going to be nowhere near ready going into the major, but we're still going to give it like the best chance we can. But it's just time is for a young team especially, we need time. 6 months is probably going to be where we're at. I'm really happy with all the maps and everything, the way we're playing. Everyone feels comfortable. I still think we're competitive because of the guys we have. So going to the next tournaments, I won't take any credit other than like building a basic system, but this is going to be on those guys shooting. And as we go on, it's going to be more about finding a system. But I'm so motivated by having this new freshness around the team. I see the headshots the guys hit as well. We do stupid rounds of stupid decisions. It makes me almost happy because I'm like,
you can clean those up.
This is fixable.
Yeah,
this is super fixable.
Yes. You can't teach someone to shoot someone in the head if they can't. But it's like you said before about you can't make the defensive player aggressive. This is a good problem to have, right?
It was really frustrating with the last lineup because it felt like we would have the most won positions over and over and over, and I didn't know what the fix was because it felt like we were in the positions and we just lose them.
Yes,
they wouldn't be all the time, but it just felt like we couldn't win a game on firepower ever, and it was hard. It was like I wouldn't be able to go to bed till like 3 a.m. on a game day thinking go over every single possible part of a plan to make sure it's all perfect, because if one thing slightly goes wrong, we just fall apart and we can't kill them. And this is not a way I'd like doing it at all. And eventually I'd like to work with people who have the talent and who can go in there. And now it's like exactly the opposite problem, right? So for me, it's super testing, because now we've got all the raw skill and none of the good habits of play smart, gets these good positions, and now we lose around. It's like, how do we get to the good positions? Well, this is completely the other side testing my coaching skills, right? And try to make this into tier 1 ready Counter-Strike. So that is motivating in itself. It feels like we have a high potential now. And this is going to be the biggest test of my coaching career again. It's not the first time, but can we go to the next major and get through the RMR with 2 months of practice with a new guy, with an in-game leader who've only had here for 3 months so far? Can we do that? I reckon potentially we can if everything goes right. And I think for us, that would be a massive achievement. And it would almost instantly vindicate what we've done, because we didn't technically make the last major, right? We had to get through in the last possible stage through a technicality with the visas and everything. So we'll see. Maybe we bomb out 0-3. I've had the trust of the org that this is a long-term project, and I've said over and over, like, I would like to take this direction, but I don't want to take this direction if it means that if we don't make it, it's the end of everything, right? And it's just going to shut everything down, kick me or whatever, because then it conflicts with everything, right? I'd rather just leave and go to another team and let me go somewhere else if we're going to not give me time to do stuff with a young team. So let's try and build a good team. I think we have the right players now. And hopefully we can. I really hope we go to around and do a good job, and it's not just a bomb out and everyone's down on us, because I really believe what we have here.
If I look at the players, if I just start the timer at the first RMR you make it to for PGL Antwerp, and then I go 2 years and a bit to now, 2.5 years, let's say, to now, and I look at the lineups, and gradually they're getting better and better. And also, you're getting your players taken from you over and over again, which is the classic thing when you're at the top of tier 2 and bottom of tier 1. It's a nightmare. If you do too well, that becomes a bad problem, because then they take your players. You have to find the next ones. Does it imply you have a good eye for sort of scouting people and seeing who talents are?
I mean, I guess so. I don't. I think it's not with myself. I come to analyze myself. I think that I make good atmospheres. I think I make good. I try to adapt to what we have, and that's it. I think that it's the same with like football and stuff. Like Jurgen Klopp is like my biggest go-to guy. You can see probably a picture behind me, right?
Yeah.
On the wall here of him on this display. If I just move like this way, this guy is the kind of I'm trying to like model myself on, and this guy is literally known for getting the most out of everyone. He'll bring in the most mediocre-looking people, and he'll make them feel comfortable, and he's just telling them how good they are over and over and over. And I'm not saying that I am Jurgen Klopp. I would love to be that sort of level, but I think that I at least understand that from playing and being a guy who I felt was neglected and stuff, and understand the emotional side and the outside stuff. Like, yeah, you need to be able to talk with your girlfriend and have time off, and I want to be able to talk about normal stuff and things like this. And also, like the tactical stuff, I tried to be a little bit of everything, but I think scouting so far has been like the biggest success, I would say, in my career, because we've had a very limited pool, and just doesn't seem to matter how well we do. We just never get our first targets until I've had this lineup. It's the first time in my career where I can say I got the first people I actually wanted, or the first or second people. Before it's the 4th, 5th, 6th, or we vault 21st or something, like not even on the list. And now it's kind of, I think it's given a lot of trust in GamerLegion now, where they don't even question anything anymore. They're just like, okay, this guy is going to cost this much, he's going to be this salary, is he worth doing it? And I just assess it and think, okay, yeah, I mean, I get help as well. Like our coach, IMD, he was coach for Anonymous when they lost their NIP, when they had the 40% loss bullshit with ZTR, by the way. They're always joking about it. It's really like fucking hilarious. This guy is really good as well. He's helping me out a lot. But I think this is, so far, it's been one of my strengths. And now I am more sold on the people we have now than probably at any point, to be honest. And what happened with the last lineups, we just needed some time. The time was everything for us. Obviously, you get a little bit less time, and I do feel sorry for teams like the NAPs or whatever, because they put a team together and within a month they're judged so hard and they feel like they have to kick people because the pressure's so high. We don't have that same pressure, and that's probably a benefit here. And if I did move to another team, this is something that I'll probably look back on and be like, oh yeah, I was a little bit lucky in that sense. But this kind of, it works for me as well, right? Because it helps me show kind of my strengths in everything as well. So I think we scouted well. I think I do it pretty good, but I kind of see myself as someone that's a bit involved with everything, but maybe not like a superstar or anything. I don't see myself as a tactical genius or anything. I think I still need to improve a lot in that sense. But I want to just listen to people around me, hear their opinions, and try to make sure we're at least on the same page. And this is something Suihy pushed so hard. Let's be on the same page with everything we do all the time. And I'm exactly on that same mold. Let's make sure everyone feels comfortable. We're talking about how we feel all the time. We're making a style that makes sense. Everyone's playing the right positions, blah, 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 and all this stuff. We have constant talks. This way, I think we can get the best out of people. And hopefully now, the best people are in this team, and we can make a system, and it'll all come together. And hopefully, I can sit here in 6 months' time and be like, we won that tournament, that B tier tournament. We've competed in this A tier tournament. We're getting to playoffs. We're on a final stage. We're getting plenty of crowds. Blah blah blah. Whatever. I would like to be that guy and not be the guy that I made second place at a major. Oh yeah, I remember that guy. Like for example, like Berry and stuff. He was doing a great job. He lost his job, and basically he was just in the wilderness for 2 years or something stupid, right? And there's so many other coaches like this who've done an amazing job, and then they lose their job, boom, they're gone. Which is half of the reason why I built my YouTube channel, right? Because I was like,
yes.
I don't want to be this guy who's I spent my whole career working my absolute arse off, never taking a break ever, and then literally people now are like, oh, who the fuck's this guy? Like, who else is this guy? Like, I've been here the whole time. I've gone to a major final, and people still have literally got no idea who I am. At least I can try and insulate myself a little bit to be like, oh yeah, at least I can see like this guy, he has this thought process here, or he does this with prep. He has this idea. So because with coaches, we have no idea most of the time. You just pick, oh, this guy played tier 1 CS. Okay, I'm going to take this guy. And I'm just sat here like, okay, well, I guess that this guy bypasses all of tier 2, 3, 1, just goes straight to the best team in the world. Doesn't even coach and anything in his life. Has never even dealt with a coach when he was a player. I just have to suck it up. And to be honest, at this point, I kind of got sick of it. And I went, okay, this is a way to at least make sure if everything goes wrong, I can still have something potentially to fall back on. Somebody might look and go, we need a coach. At least I like some of his ideas. Maybe some of it makes sense, right? Rough business.
Maybe you did some of it there, but I'll ask my classic last question, which is always, do you have a final message? Do you have anyone you want to say hello to or thank?
I'm going to definitely thank my girlfriend, to be honest, at the moment. I've been very down on myself.
I mean, if you had one holiday in fucking 3 years, you should. Holy shit. It's just you in the room playing CS all the time. She's waiting for you to come out.
I mean, it's like I've ranted about on Snake and Banter and stuff, right? Like you like we have a TCT again in a couple of days' time, and I've literally no idea when our game's or when it ends. I don't know when the next game is. And she puts up with it, and I'm really like a person who gets down on myself and stuff quite a bit, but I don't really show it. I kind of like I try to be upbeat and everything, but I have like confidence issues sometimes with that sense where I'm just like, oh, this is going bad and this is bad and blah, blah, blah. Like it's just like human nature, kind of, right? When you see problems, and you just sometimes there's too many problems, and you're like, oh, you don't see like the 1-by-1 fix. And you kind of use someone to ground you, and I think she does that really well. I think just GamerLegion as well, like I have to say thank you for them. They stuck by me for so long. I think there was probably a period when they maybe even looked to replace me, and I managed to talk them out of that. And that's just before we went on all the majors. And now we've had, 3-4 majors in a row, I can't remember. And there's a bunch of orgs out there who've not had zero majors, who are paying a shit ton more than us. We regularly play against teams that have one player paid more than our entire team, and we're still able to beat these teams, So I have to say thank you to those guys as well. And just everyone that's kind of supported me and helped me, to be honest.
Everyone needs a support network, and mine is, of course, my Patreon community, the Scrominati, who in many ways, they're the Sonny to my Cher, saying, I got you, babe. So this video and all the others on my channel were kindly supported by the following names: Ahmed Hadjou, Mac Pugnatio Rajcula, Adam Tomlin, Animosity, Jensen Goh, Tosh, Toucan, and you know it. Jerky's Minion, my main man, always going to be referenced, one of the best patrons of all time. Would you like to ask a question in my AMA? Maybe you want to suggest a topic or a guest to say on my channel? Do you want teasers, find out who the upcoming Reflections and Talk to Thorin interviews are? Maybe you want to do one of those long discussions where you get to set the topics we talk about. Well, if any of these or others appeal to you, put your money where your mouth is. Join the Scluminati today via the Patreon link in the description box below.